Now we know actually the firms that are using AI. And so we're able to open this black box and to really understand, first of all, who are the firms that are using these new technologies? What are the barriers to uptake? And so as a sort of first question, we need to try and understand that question. What determines that you will be using AI in the future? So when we have AI, for example, how does it affect society? I'm going to give you the economist's perspective. But I think we're really seeing a jump in the past couple of years. How long do you wait, right? Do you wait until your entire industry has taken up AI, or do you want to be part of the leaders?
Yeah. Schroder, assistant professor here at Aarhus University. First of all, thank you so much for taking your time to have this conversation.
Pleasure.
So normally I interview AI leads, experts and business leaders to try to get an understanding of how AI is impacting their business. And in that nature of those conversations, it revolves around their business, of course. But I'm super excited to have the conversation with you because you're actually looking at it from a totally different perspective as I get it.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're basically analyzing all the firms together in society, in the data sets that we have. So we're not really focusing or analyzing one specific firm, but I can kind of give you a good idea of when all firms, when they all engage in these technological advances, then what actually happens to society as well.
Right. Before digging into that though, could you just tell a little bit about yourself and Aarhus University and the setup you're a part of?
Yes, so I'm based at Aarhus, as you said. I'm an assistant professor. I've been here for 5 years. I did my PhD in Edinburgh, very much sort of trying to understand how globalization affects inequality and how firms play a crucial role in that. And then these opportunities came about with new technologies arising. How will that change the future of work? And so basically I'm based at Aarhus at the economics department. And I have great colleagues to think about these big picture questions. When you have mega trends as globalization, as artificial intelligence, how will it really shape our societies and from an economic perspective?
Right. So you are a bigger group looking at this, and none of you, or are you AI experts, any of you, or you're more seen it from an economic point of view?
Well, I mean, we are not AI specialists in that sense that we develop AI or that we, to a great degree, we might use ChatGPT in our work. We might use a little bit of AI to help our productivity, but we're not developing any AI in that sense. So what we do is to try and analyze when different economic agents that might be firms, that could actually be individuals. I mean, nowadays, even individuals have access to these new technologies. Right. And we then try to understand what are the mechanisms in terms of effect on inequality, effect on firm productivity, on individual productivity. So we're not in that sense on the technology side the expert, but we can probably tell you quite a bit what the societal impact should be or could be. We're obviously in an early stage regarding AI, so it's more of a pointer.
Yeah, but nevertheless, it's super interesting because you are looking at it from a totally different view.
Yeah.
So the people I normally interview are either AI specialists or they're looking at it from their company point of view.
Yeah.
Now you're coming with this holistic view, but we can also more or less from a megatrend point of view, but you can also drill down to more or less, I wouldn't say individual level, but you can research in an angle that I haven't heard about before. So could
That's
you try?
Interesting for me to hear as well.
But could you try to elaborate a little more on the team and AES and how that is structured?
Right. So I'm based at the economics department, and we all kind of have our own projects going. But some people, they're working on automation, on AI as well. But this particular project is actually related to what is known as PIREO, the Platform for Inequality Research. And it's actually an interdisciplinary project. And the idea was actually when inequalities intersect from different fields, because me as an economist, I probably have a very specific way of addressing a question. So when we have AI, for example, how does it affect society? I'm going to give you the economist's perspective.
Right.
But then we might have political scientists, lawyers, and even within Pireo, we have different sub-projects where they're medical people, where they're from political science intersected with political law and different fields. And so here, the project that I'm leading, the question is really, how does AI affect our society? And we're trying to learn together. So we're trying to really have a broader picture than just the economist in the room. So we're working together with political science and law, and we developed the survey that we ran together with Denmark Statistics on firms and individuals as well, to get an idea, what is the current state of the art in terms of uptake of AI? How spread is it really? And how exposed are different occupations and individuals at this given point in time? And so this project, because it's of course a hot topic, AI right now.
It is.
And we've been looking for other researchers to collaborate together as well. So the Aarhus Institute for Advanced Studies, they're kind of this institute that hosts international researchers so that we can collaborate together with them. So we had somebody join our project as well. And so we're basically based at the economics department, but we often meet at this institute to share our ideas, to collaborate together. And it's a great way to learn from one another and to advance our understanding of AI on society.
I could imagine. So is there a particular thing that you're trying to research for now in that, or is there a question that you're looking for when you're researching currently or is it just, not just, but in the field of looking at it from a holistic point of view, or is there like a hypothesis or a question that you're trying to answer?
Yeah, so I've been already doing quite a bit of research on AI and how it affects labor markets. But there because we quite often don't know what kind of technologies firms use when we have this aggregate data, we've been using proxies. And so the papers I have so far, the articles I've been writing, very much try to understand, let's get a broad idea of which firms might be using AI and what are the labor market implications. That can be in terms of wages, that can be in terms of the task and skill content of work. And so those papers have been great in terms of getting a first idea.
Right.
But in this particular project that I was telling you quite a bit about, it's actually more because now we know actually the firms that are using AI. And so we're able to open this black box and to really understand, first of all, who are the firms that are using these new technologies? What are the barriers to uptake? And so as a sort of first question, we need to try and understand that question. What determines that you will be using AI in the future? And why aren't you using it right now if you're reporting in the survey that you haven't taken it up?
Right.
And that has, of course, important implications in terms of, will this firm have a higher productivity than other firms? Will it engage in global markets? Will there be certain implications for labor markets? But those are sort of now second step questions that I'll be interested to answer in the future.
Yeah. So in terms of how you're analyzing, could you try to unfold that a little bit?
Sure. So we ran this questionnaire in collaboration with Denmark Statistics. And they have their contact people within these firms that are required to actually respond in terms of balance sheet information and etc. And we were able to, when we run the survey, to ask regarding the uptake of AI on the firm level. And that implied that we really wanted to dig deeper. What kind of AI applications do these firms use? In which business areas do they use this AI?
Right.
And what are the barriers to uptake if they aren't using it at the moment? We also try to get a better sense to really open this black box, because even if there are surveys out there that can tell us there are 50% of firms that use AI, what is that information really useful for? Not much, right?
No.
So we're trying to open this black box and get a better understanding. Who are the firms that are employing AI, what for, what are the barriers to uptake, and getting also an idea of what will be the implications for the future of work.
Right.
Is the main reason to automate? Will that mean that certain jobs are at threat?
Yeah.
Or maybe everyone is just getting more productive. And I think everyone has a whole lot of opinions and ideas, but we want to really be among those that give an academic answer. We are agnostic about, is it going to be good or bad? We are analyzing the data. We're letting the data speak. Of course, we have already maybe some hunch on what could be happening because we have other research projects going on. We know maybe how robots affect society, but AI specifically, there are many question marks.
Yes.
And so
a lot of opinions, as you said yourself.
Exactly. And so we try to really bring some answers to the open questions.
So I know that you haven't got any final conclusions, but do you have anything that you can see in the analysis that you could share, that you see, or your opinions?
Sure. I would actually like to remind you that I asked you a question, how do you define AI, the first time we met, right?
Yes, I do.
And then you pointed at us and you said, it's you. And it's basically our cognitive ability, our brains, right?
Yeah.
It's the capability of understanding text, of making meaning out of text, all that, right? But then in order for us as humans to really bring our ability to showcase it, we need our body. And that's often the robot part or the physical aspect.
Yeah.
So crucially, in our survey, we ask regarding specific AI applications. That can be visual recognition, image recognition, these large language models. But then we also wanted to understand in connection, there's lots of capital that is AI driven, right? So the physical aspect. So robotics, touch screen kiosk. Basically in a storage room, the entire system might be actually AI driven. And so we gave actually the managers the options to respond on sort of the software aspect and the hardware aspect. And we've been seeing actually in the survey that it's the combination of both often where we see a large uptake of AI. It's not that firms necessarily will only invest into the brain part, right? The only AI software, but very much also into some capital that will be required in order to make use of this AI. And I think that was an interesting result. And then we also tried to get an understanding, well, you can possibly respond in terms of AI applications. We had like 11 different applications. And then we saw that there are very, very few firms that respond that they use several AI applications. So we have a large proportion of firms that actually use maybe one individual element or two together.
Right.
And I think that's an interesting point that I thought maybe if you're already using AI, you will use from the palette maybe all of them or several of them. But it seems that maybe it's very specialized what you use it for. And
depending on business type, for
exactly,
instance, or
business
area
type.
of business.
Exactly. And that was interesting. And I think as well, just in terms of response rate, how many firms responded to be using AI, I was surprised. So depending on how we define AI, if it's adding the robotic element as well and adding sort of these physical capital that are driven by AI, the response rate was actually quite high. And it aligns a bit with the McKinsey survey that reports actually for Denmark like 60-70% of uptake. So of course, I think, again, if we don't distinguish and we just ask regarding robotics, for example, we might get a higher number.
Okay.
So I think it's also a crucial question, how do we define AI in the first place?
Yeah. But have you defined it then? Seen from your chair and as you're analyzing it? I
think the advantage we have is because we give different options in terms of AI applications.
Yeah.
If someone is like, oh, I consider AI being the robotics part as well, I can be like, well, then the AI adoption would be this rate.
Yeah.
If you want to be super narrow and you want to tell me actually out of those 11, maybe a software developer only considers 3 or 4 elements really AI, then I can give you that adoption rate. So I think the advantage that we have is that we kept it open, but I think all of the applications are at least AI related. And so I think we get at least a good sense of even the possibility of AI spreading in society has to do with some of these broader indirect AI applications.
But do you see that companies are starting to make it a part of their company?
Yeah.
Are they answering that they can see it is something they're putting in, or they can see a future in it? It's not just a buzzword.
It's not just a buzzword. And that's where actually I was quite surprised. So there have been surveys in the past and across Europe, across the globe actually, depending what survey you look at, because again, definitions vary, how people define AI. But I think we're really seeing a jump in the past couple of years.
Right.
I think if you look at data from maybe a decade ago, the uptake was incredibly low. And it's sort of maybe through this ChatGPT hype, maybe through these AI applications becoming more applicable to different business areas, that we actually see quite a large uptake at this point.
So here at the end, then, do you have any advice to both us as people of society, but also business leaders?
I guess it depends. I mean, I can give you, what kind of advice are you thinking of?
I'm thinking the lines of, now just more or less said that AI is not a buzzword, it's something that's coming. It's something that companies are starting to take a part of their processes.
Yeah.
I guess you're also analyzing it from a society point of view and how it could impact us as society. And hence therefore also perhaps have some recommendations for us as human beings and people who are leading businesses.
Right.
And whether it's something we should take seriously, and you can see in your answers that yes, there are suddenly a majority of companies starting to take this as a serious matter.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I first started on my first AI projects, people very much called it the AI winter. So there was all this buzz about it, as you say, but the uptake was very, very low. And so the question then also that arises for me, what has been the strategy here? And I think it does seem that we've been having a few firms leading in terms of uptake and others being waiting and maybe wanting to leapfrog when these AI applications, when the usefulness of it becomes so obvious that some firms hope to maybe leapfrog.
Right.
So I think in terms of advice for businesses, I think it would be, I would also actually want to learn about that, but it's an open question to ask, how long do you wait, right? Do you wait until your entire industry has taken up AI, or do you want to be part of the leaders?
Yeah.
It's different strategies. Of course, those that are sort of leading the frontier, there's trial and error. Some might not have the capacity to do so financially, right? So that's part of what we're analyzing in terms of barriers to uptake.
Yeah.
What are the legal requirements? What does it imply if you're using AI in hiring, right? Do you have to report that to the individuals you're hiring?
Yeah.
Or in the decisions that you make regarding promotion or monitoring your workers? How are we going to deal about these things? And so I think being at the frontier, you have to figure out many things. But at the same time, you'll be part of shaping the future. Maybe even some of these conflicts that might arise can actually be fruitful. And so I think advice could be, depends, it's context specific.
Of course.
But I think firms need to decide for themselves. Do they want to be part of those that shape the future? Which could be very beneficial, but it might also create some amount of interruptions for the businesses themselves. Or are we part of those that are in the waiting room, right? And we then jump on the train when it comes by.
Yeah. And perhaps if you decide to be those that are sitting and waiting, you definitely have to ensure that you constantly are aware of what's happening.
Absolutely.
So suddenly you're not just being run over by competitors because they've taken that advantage in terms of optimizing their business with AI.
Yeah, and I guess also I mean, part of our project is also understanding the future of work. How does AI change what we're doing, how we're doing things? Because basically when businesses employ AI, they definitely will change business processes, right? And so I think from a society perspective, we want to get a labor force that will be ready for that change as well.
Yeah. Sarah, this has really been an interesting conversation. I was thinking whether I can invite you for phase 2, once you're starting to have some concrete answers from your analysis.
Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah. I'd love to share some insights, and also maybe hear from your side what the big questions are going to be then.
Definitely.